Okay, Hare Krishna. We'll continue our discussion on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, starting from 2.62. This is a new section in which Krishna talks about the process of fall down. It's a ladder of fall down. Usually we use a ladder to climb up, to go up, to progress, to rise above. But it's an interesting ladder. It's a ladder of fall down. Krishna explains how one falls down from higher consciousness to lower consciousness. Okay? And who is providing this ladder? Who is providing this ladder? Hmm? Material? Materialistic world. Yeah. So we are creating our own ladder and we are falling down. We are creating our own ladder and falling down. That's an interesting. First of all, the ladder itself is very interesting, and more interesting is we are making the ladder by ourselves, and we are falling down. So we'll see how one falls down, and we'll also understand how to rise above. Okay. But before that, happy Shivaratri, everyone. Happy Shivaratri. So,
Happy Shivaratri.
what's the meaning of the word Shiva? Shiva, Shivam, auspiciousness. Okay, very good. Anybody else? Anything else? Today I asked two people in the other class. I asked two people. They both had. I mean, there were many people in the class, but there were two people who have the name Shiva. And we have been hearing this word Shiva since our childhood. So nobody knew the answer. Nobody, even those two people who have the name as Shiva, they didn't know the meaning. But yeah, as Vamshi said, Shiva means auspiciousness. Auspiciousness. So Lord Shiva, he sacrifices his own life to spread auspiciousness for the entire world. So what's the example for that? Alahalam. Yeah. During Samudra Mantana, first the poison, Kalakuta Visham, came out. Then nectar, Amritam came. But the poison was flowing down, it was flowing everywhere. And if it is not contained, it could cause damage to the entire world. Then all the devatas, they were worried. They were looking for somebody who can stop this. And everybody suggested Lord Shiva's name. And Lord Shiva graciously agreed. And he swallowed that Kalakuta Visham and kept it in his throat. So that was for Loka Kalyanam, for the auspiciousness, for the Shubham. Okay, to spread auspiciousness and Shubham for the entire world, he sacrificed his own life. I mean, he was ready to. He was ready to sacrifice his own life. Shiva is supreme, but somebody swallowing the Visham, knowing that it will cause damage to them. See, there is a subtle difference between Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, Vishnu or Shiva. They both are supreme. Shiva is almost supreme. But Shiva is still in the Shiva still controlled by Vishnu. So whatever powers or the boons that he gives to people, that power he gets from Vishnu only. So Shiva is known as Uttama Vaishnava, or the first best Vaishnava of all. Vaishnavanam Yata Shambho. When somebody approached Lord Shiva and asked for liberation, Mukti, Shiva said, no, I cannot grant Mukti. Just like how Brahma, when he appeared in front of Hiranyakashipu did tapasya for several hundreds of years. And then Hiranyakashipu asked Brahma to give immortality. Brahma said, I myself am not immortal. I am in the material world. I am a conditioned soul. So I cannot grant you immortality. So just like that, Lord Shiva also cannot grant liberation or mukti. So then Shiva replied to that person saying that muktim pradata sarvesham vishnur evana samshayah. Only Vishnu can grant mukti or liberation. But Shiva is known as Bola Shankar. He fulfills the desires of devotees very easily. You approach him even with a small leaf, bilvapatram, and you do some abhisheka with a little amount of milk. He is pleased and he will fulfill the desires. But what kind of desires we should ask for when we worship Shiva, when we do abhishekam, or when we offer bilvapatra? What kind of desire should we ask for? We should ask for giving us bhakti. We should ask for giving us bhakti. Because he is the greatest Vaishnava. He is full of ananya bhakti for Ramachandra. He always chants Ramanama. So when we worship Lord Shiva, we get blessings from him to reach Vishnu or Krishna. Okay. So in that mode we have to worship Lord Shiva. So coming back to chapter 2 here.
You talked about like Shiva praises to Lord Rama.
Yeah.
In a way to Vishnu ji.
Yeah.
In Ramayana there is a saying like Rameshwaram, where Ramji does puja for Lord Shiva.
Yes.
So how is this cycle? Like the Ramji is doing puja for Shiva and Shiva is doing puja to Ram.
Yeah.
So there's a cycle here. So who is superior?
No, it's not cycle. It's not cycle that in one cycle Vishnu or Ramachandra takes turn to be supreme. Another cycle Shiva takes supreme. No, not like that. So the same Rama Leela, the same Ramayanam, it happens. Every millennium it happens, and it's a Nitya Leela. So right now, as we are speaking, this Leela is happening in some planet, in the spiritual world, in some planet, it's happening right now. That Ramayanam is happening right now. As we are speaking now, Ramachandra is doing Abhishekam to Lord Shiva right now. So it's a Nitya Leela. Vishnu, Ramachandra is an avatar of Vishnu or Krishna, right? So even Krishna himself, he worships devotees. There were some occasions where Krishna worshipped Shiva. Krishna worships devotees. Krishna says, when somebody says he is my devotee, I don't consider him as my devotee. But if somebody says they are devotee of my devotee, or they are servant of my devotee, then I consider them as my devotees. So Shiva is a devotee of Vishnu, Uttama Vaishnava. Vaishnavanam Yata Shambho. He is the best Vaishnava of all. So when he is worshipping, obviously he got the blessings of Vishnu, Narayana, Krishna, Ramachandra, right? Now the quickest way for us to get, the quickest way for us to reach Vishnu, Narayana, Krishna, or Ramachandra is to go through via Lord Shiva. Or if you want to reach Narayana, go through via Sri Mahalakshmi. If you want to access Krishna Bhagavan, you go through Radharani. So like that, if we approach the Supreme Lord through devotees, the Lord is more pleased and there is a quicker access. So to show that, to set an example for the common men, Ramachandra worshipped Lord Shiva. Yeah. If you read Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram, right? Even there, Shiva says, when Parvati Devi, after hearing entire Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram from Lord Shiva himself, Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram was recited by Bhishma Dev to Yudhishthira. And then in the Padma Purana, there are some sections like Bhagavad Gita Mahatmyam, Bhagavata Mahatmyam, Ramayana Mahatmyam, Vishnu Sahasranama Mahatmyam, like that. The glories of all these great scriptures and stotrams. So Lord Shiva reads these scriptures to Parvati Devi, and then he glorifies these scriptures to Parvati Devi. So Parvati Devi, after hearing Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram, she asks Lord Shiva that looks like reciting this Sahasranama of Vishnu is a bit challenging task. People may not be able to pronounce the names properly. They may not understand these names properly. It looks like only Pandits can recite this easily. So can you tell some simple procedure or simple plan for the common men to get the same benefit? Keno payena laguna Vishnor nama sahasrakam patyate panditair nityam shrotumicham yaham prabho. Parvati Devi asks. This is in the Uttara Petika of Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram. Then Lord Shiva says, Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. Lord Shiva says, if one chants Ramachandra's name 3 times, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, 3 times, then they get the benefit of chanting the entire Sahasranama. So who is saying this? Lord Shiva himself is saying that to chant Rama's name. So when Rama worshipped Shiva in Rameshwaram, it is to set an example for the common men. Yeah. When Krishna appears in Dwapara Yuga, in Krishna Avatara, so he did all the ritualistic activities that common people will do, like Trisandhya, performing 3, Sandhya Vandanam 3 times a day, like how Brahmins, those who have the Brahminical thread, they have to do Sandhya Vandanam 3 times a day, morning, afternoon and evening. So Krishna, even though he is not obligated to perform those duties, but he performed those duties to set an example. So like that, when we see things like that, the Supreme Lord is doing those activities just to set an example for others. Okay. So 2.62. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ sanghasteshu
Sanghasteshu
Sangat sanjhayate kama, kamat krodho bijayate. Dhyāyatah, while contemplating, viṣayān, sense objects, puṁsaḥ, of a person, sangaha, attachment, teshu, in the sense objects, upajayate, develops, sanghat, from attachment, sanjayate, develops, kama, desire, kamat, from desire, krodha, anger, abhijayate, becomes manifest. Okay, Ankita, can you read this translation and purport? Ankita, you there?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
One who is not Krishna conscious is subjected to material desires while contemplating the objects of the senses. The senses require real engagements, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods in the heavenly planets, is subjected to the influence of sense objects. And the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was deep in meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result, Kartikeya was born. When Haridas Thakur, when Haridas Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he was similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi. But Haridas easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion of Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya, a sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste for spiritual enjoyment in the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not therefore in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail. For the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desires. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. So here in this shloka, Krishna is describing what is the root cause of falling down. What is the first step in the process of fall down? In the material world, uh, in the field of personality development or self-help training, psychology, in all these areas, there are some techniques, solutions, how to control your mind, how to solve your psychological problems like that. But all those techniques and solutions, they only address the symptoms. They only do a patchwork. They give a patchwork solution. They don't address the root cause because they themselves do not know what is the root cause. So only in Bhagavad Gita, you see this root cause is being addressed, root cause of the problem. And that is what we all want to do, right? Coming from software field, right? We want to do RCA. Whenever there is a problem, we want to do RCA, root cause analysis. So that when you address the root cause, that problem will never occur again. But rather, if you address the symptoms, you are fixing the symptoms by applying some patch, temporary patch, so that the customer, production, the live system will not stop. The customer can continue with the live system, and that day night when there is no production activity, you can bring the system down for a couple of hours and apply a permanent solution. So here Krishna is talking about the permanent solution by addressing the problem from root cause. What is the root cause when somebody is attracted to sense gratification? Okay, in the previous shlokas, 2-3 shlokas, 59, 60, 61, Krishna talked about sense control. And if somebody does not control the senses, obviously they are attracted to sense gratification. They are attracted to sense objects. But why? Why somebody will be attracted to sense objects? That is contemplation. The first step in the process of fall down is contemplation. Now, what is this contemplation? What does it mean? The English meaning, contemplation, what does it mean? Thinking over. Yeah, meditating on, thinking over. Yeah. So you see something or you hear something, you taste something, and then you keep on meditating on it. You keep thinking about it. You keep on meditating on that object. And then what happens? So that process is called Dhyāyato. Dhyāyataha. Dhyāyata means while contemplating, the process of contemplation. Dhyana, this comes from the root word dhyana. Dhyana means meditation. So when somebody meditates on the viṣayā means sense objects. When somebody meditates on viṣayā, sense objects, then what happens? Sangha, attachment. Attachment happens. So you become attached to that person, you become attached to that object, you become attached to that thought. If you become attached to a thought, what will happen is very soon the thoughts will translate into words, and words will convert into action, action will convert into habit, habit will convert into your character. Okay? It all starts with one step. What is that step? Thinking, meditation, contemplation, dhyana. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ sangas teshu upajāyate. Because the contemplation leads to attachment. And when you develop attachment, that is nothing but a strong desire. Okay, strong desire. As you keep on thinking about it, you will develop a desire to have that object. At any cost, I should have this. At any cost, I should achieve this. It can be performing a task, it can be buying some object, it can be, getting a person into your life, anything like that. So the more you keep thinking about it, you will develop attachment. And then, Sangha sanjhayate kamaha. That attachment leads to lust. Lust is a strongest desire. There is a desire which is of lower degree, but as the contemplation increases, as you keep on contemplating, pondering over it, then the desire which is of lower degree turns into lust which is of higher degree. Kamat, and then that becomes to kama, and kamat krodho abhijayate. If that lust is not fulfilled, it will lead to anger. It will lead to anger. So in this shloka, Krishna talked about contemplation, attachment, lust, and anger. 4 things he talked about. By the way, these are not the 4 steps. Okay. So while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. So the senses are so dangerous that all the 5 senses, we have 5 senses and the mind. Mind is the 6th sense. Mind is like a repository. So let me show a picture to understand the anatomy or the thing of this. So the human life consists of 3 components: gross body, subtle body, and the soul. Gross body, subtle body, and the soul. Gross body is made up of the Pancha Mahabhuta: earth, water, fire, air, ether. The Pancha Mahabhuta. Okay, see our skin, our hands, legs, everything is made up of the Pancha Mahabhuta: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And within the body, within this material body, there is the soul. And also there is a subtle body. Within this gross body, there is subtle body also. That subtle body, so the Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. Gross body is the Stula Sharira. Within the gross body, there is a Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. Subtle body consists of 3 things: intelligence, mind, and ego, false ego. Mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are the 3 things, 3 components of subtle body. And then we have soul. So human life consists of 3 components: gross body, subtle body, and the soul. And within the subtle body, there are 3 components again: mind, ego, and intelligence. Okay. So is this clear to everyone? So that you can understand the mechanics of the mind, intelligence, and senses. And now, intelligence is the decision maker. Anything that we do, the mind has 3 faculties: thinking, feeling, and willing. Thinking, feeling and willing. The thinking and feeling is done by the mind. The mind starts thinking about something. Okay? And then the mind develops some feelings, some emotions, feelings. And finally, when you want to do it, that decision is made by the intelligence. So intelligence is the decision maker. But how does the intelligence make the decisions? Based on whatever is stored in the mind. Based on whatever is stored in the mind. The mind is it's a warehouse, it's a storehouse of impressions. Whatever you see, the mind takes a snapshot and stores it in the repository. It's like an impression. Whatever you hear, the mind takes a snapshot and stores in the repository. So like that, anything that happens, all the interactions of the five senses with the sense objects, the mind takes a snapshot and stores in the repository. And then those snapshots will be retrieved, as and when needed. Those snapshots will be retrieved. Mind works based on sankalpa and vikalpa. These are the two stages, sankalpa stage and vikalpa stage. Sankalpa is I like something. Vikalpa is I don't like something. So where does this liking and disliking comes from? It comes from past impressions. If you had an impression in the past, let's say you ate gulab jamun for the first time. Let's say yesterday you ate gulab jamun for the first time. That impression, the taste is there in the mind. Now again today, if you see gulab jamun, the mind immediately says, I like it. Because you have an experience in the past. So based on the past experience, impressions, the mind oscillates between sankalpa and vikalpa. Constantly it oscillates between sankalpa and vikalpa. I like it, I don't like it. Like it, I don't like it. Like it, I don't like it. Throughout the day, from morning till evening, even while you are sleeping also. Because when you are sleeping, the mind is not sleeping, right? So even during the sleep also, your mind is oscillating. Sankalpa, vikalpa, sankalpa, vikalpa. That's why if you practice yoga nidra, it's worth practicing actually. It's worth learning and practicing. Because a 20-minute of sleep in yoga nidra. Yoga nidra is not just, in a yoga class, after the session, you lie down and they call it as yoga nidra. That's not the actual yoga nidra. Actual yoga nidra is something different, where you can even shut your senses, including mind also. Not completely, but the mind will not be as active as otherwise. So 20 minutes of yoga nidra is equal to couple of hours of actual sleep. That's why there are some top executives who learned it, who learned this yoga nidra, and they are able to perform tremendously simply by sleeping just for a couple of hours. They may not sleep 8 hours a day. If they sleep 8 hours a day, then imagine what will happen to their products and their technology, their company, their net worth. There's so much of competition, right? Especially now in the age of AI. By the time you start learning one, another thing comes. Within 1 week, 2 weeks, another thing is coming up. So this was definitely practiced by saints in the ancient times, but in the modern day also, so many people who value their life, who value their time, who value their contribution to the society, they practice this yoga nidra, and then with less time of sleep, they can perform normally and tremendously. For example, Prabhupada, when he was there, he used to sleep only 1.5 hours or so. He used to write Bhagavad Gita, commentary on Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam until 2 o'clock in the midnight. And then he would just take rest for 1.5 hours. And then his Brahma Muhurta begins, his japa and archana, everything starts. So how they were able to perform? Because of Yoga Nidra. So the mind is always oscillating. Even when you are sleeping, it's oscillating, it's constantly active, um, getting impacted by the impressions from the past. Um, so basically the senses, anything that you see, anything that you smell, taste, hear or touch, it's stored in the mind. But what is the hierarchy? If you go back to the previous screen, the hierarchy is at the bottommost level there are senses. Above senses it is mind, above mind intelligence, and then above intelligence is soul. This is the consciousness hierarchy. That means the senses are controlled by mind. Mind is guided by intelligence. Mind is controlled by intelligence. There are techniques to keep these three faculties, intelligence, mind and senses, in good shape. There is a technique for intelligence, there is a separate technique for mind, separate technique for senses. So the technique for intelligence is to read Shastra, to read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Ramayanam. If you know what happens when you do certain thing that is mentioned in the Shastras, what happens? And what happens when you don't do this, or what happens when you violate that? There are do's and don'ts given in the Shastras. So the intelligence is to know what happens when you do or when you don't do. Okay? When you violate the instructions or when you follow the instructions, what is the result? What are the consequences? There are some case studies given in Bhagavatam and Ramayanam. From that you can learn. Okay? If a certain instruction is violated, what happens? So like that you cultivate intelligence. Now with that intelligence, when the mind has desires, the desires are triggered by the mind based on the impressions, right, from the past. See, the very reason why we have taken this birth is because of unfulfilled desires. Unfulfilled desires. And once we see, there are two things, right? Unfulfilled desires and there is karma. The reason for our birth is unfulfilled desires. And what happens during this lifetime is based on karma. Based on what we have done in the past life or in the lifetimes in the past. So these two things we have to clearly understand. Unfulfilled desires, because of that we take this birth. And once we have taken birth, whatever happens is because of past karma. We have papa karma and punya karma. Based on that we get results in this life. Now, if the mind has desires, obviously, but the mind has desires, right? Mind has so many desires. The desires are so much that the samsara sagara or bhava sagara word that we often hear, right? It is nothing but it's an ocean of desires. It's an ocean of desires. Many times when we hear this word, samsara sagara, bhava sagara, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? Some picture will come to your mind, right? If I say ice cream, definitely some image of ice cream will come. Not the spelling of ice cream or not the taste of ice cream, right? Some image will come to your mind. Similarly, when we say bhava sagara, samsara sagara, some imagination, right? What will come? Some ocean full of water, and we are drowning in that water, in that ocean. Or when we hear the word samsara sagara, we often relate it to the family, the attachments, with the family members, friends, relatives, society, and so on. But the actual definition of the samsara sagara, bhava sagara is the sagara of desires. Sagara of desires. In Mukundamala Sutra, Kulshekara Alva describes Trishna toye madana pavano dhuta mohormi male dara varte tanaya sahaja graha sangha kulecha. There he uses the word Trishna toye. Trishna means desire. Toya means the water. So this material ocean is filled with water of desires. It's full of desires. So samsara sagara means it's a sagara of desires. Okay. So when the mind has so many desires, the mind wants to fulfill the desires through the via medium of senses. If the mind has a desire to taste some sweet, the mind engages the tongue in tasting the sweet. But there has to be somebody to put a check and tell whether it is okay to taste that or not. Just like when the child has a desire to do something, the parent is there to keep a check whether it's good for the child or not. Similarly, the parent here is intelligence. The intelligence puts a check. It makes the decision. Intelligence is the decision maker. We saw in the other slide, right? Yeah, here. Intelligence is the decision maker. The mind has impressions, vasanas, samskaras, and desires. But before the mind can engage the senses in doing some activity, the intelligence makes the decision. If the intelligence is not in good shape, if we don't have good intelligence, then the intelligence will make wrong decisions. Intelligence will guide the mind in a wrong way. And then the mind will navigate the senses in the wrong way. Okay? So we have to, it's a two-way approach actually. Okay? Even though the hierarchy, senses are controlled by mind, mind is controlled by intelligence. But we have to take a two-way approach. One is top-down approach, other one is bottom-up approach. The top-down approach is you start cultivating good intelligence, which in turn will guide the mind in a proper way, and mind will control the senses. While doing that, while you are taking this top-down approach, you should also take a bottom-up approach. You explicitly control the senses and control the mind. There are different techniques for all these. Now we talked about the technique for intelligence. So in one sentence, what is the technique for cultivating intelligence? Reading Shastra. Very good. And for mind, it is mantra. Mantra meditation. Okay. What is the meaning of the word mantra? Manah trayate iti mantra. That which delivers the mind is mantra. We hear Gayatri mantra, right? What is Gayatri? Who is Gayatri? మీకు తెలుసా? Durga, no. Gomata, no. Gayatri. I'm asking in the context of Gayatri mantra. There are two Gayatris. Okay. The Gayatri, there is a Gayatri Devi that people worship. You might have seen, some deity or some picture. She has 4 heads. Just like Chaturmukha Brahma, who has 4 heads. Similarly, Gayatri Devi also has 4 heads. I'm not asking about that Gayatri Devi. This is Gayatri mantra. So who is that Gayatri in that? Is it the same Gayatri Devi or something else, someone else. You all heard about Gayatri Mantra, right? Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tatsavidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. And there are different Gayatri Mantras. Okay?
Gayatri Devi is the Ishta of that mantra.
Ishta Adhishtana Devata of that mantra. Okay? What else? Does anyone else know?
The one who controls
Huh?
intellect,
God of intellect. God of intellect. Okay? Yeah. So in the Gayatri Mantra, in the context of Gayatri Mantra, that word Gayatri is not referring to any Devi Devata. Chandas. Yeah, there is a Chandas. Gayatri Chandas is also there. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Chandasam Gayatri, something. Gayatri Chandasamaham. Okay, of all the Chandas, I am the Gayatri. Krishna says in 10th chapter. Because Gayatri Chandas, that is one of the best Chandas. Just like Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Sahasranama, we use Anushtup Chanda. Okay? Dehi nosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tata dehantara prapte dhiras tatrana muhyati. 8 syllables for each line. 32 syllables for the entire shloka. That is Anushtup Chanda. Like that, Gayatri Chanda. There is something else. Okay? No, not that one. This Gayatri in Gayatri Mantra means Gayantam iti trayate iti Gayatri. Gayantam trayate iti Gayatri. Whoever sings or whoever recites this mantra, it delivers them. Just like mantra, the word mantra, mana trayate iti mantraha. That which delivers the mind is mantra. Like Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these are all the different mantras we have. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. These are all different mantras. These mantras deliver the mind. Similarly, Gayatri. Gayantam Trayate iti Gayatri. That which delivers, whoever recites or sings this mantra, it will deliver them. Now, what is delivering means? Delivering from liberating, basically. Liberating from the material world and sending to spiritual world. Okay? So when we have, when we chant japa or when we chant any mantras, then the mind is controlled. Now we know the technique for intelligence, we know the technique for mind. Now, technique for senses. That is the section that we are reading now, 2.62 onwards. The first step of failure, in controlling senses is dhyāna. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ sangasteshu upajāyate sangāt sanjāyate kama kāmāt krodho vijāyate. The first step starts with contemplation, meditation. You start thinking about it. Okay? It's not even deep meditation, but just you start thinking about it. You see something, you go to shopping mall or you go to Costco. Famous thing, right? You go to Costco just to get milk. But what happens? You will come out with a cart full of so many things except milk. Except milk, everything else is there in the cart. How? How does it happen? Or why does it happen like this? Dhyāna. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. That's why there is a great study. Somebody in Stanford and Harvard, they are doing research on the mentality of shoppers. And you know where this study is used? This study is used in placing the goods in the store. When you go to any store, Costco, Target, or any store, right? You don't see, for example, the cereals. You don't see them all the time in the same place. Maybe cereals I see in Costco in the same place actually, right?
They keep changing it also.
Cereals also they keep changing. Yeah, maybe somehow cereals I don't see them changing. Cereals and TVs, these are the two things they don't change. Maybe TVs I agree because of space constraint. TVs and electronics, they are always in one place. But other things, they always keep changing. Why? Because they want you to go around the store in search of that one object that you want to buy. And while doing that, what you will see, you will see so many things, and the mind takes a snapshot. Oh, this is good. There is a deal. They put a price, $20, and on top of that, they say sale, $15 only. So these are the different techniques, and somebody is doing a study, sitting at Stanford and Harvard. They are doing greater research, and companies are spending billions of dollars on utilizing this study, how to use this in their business. This is all based on one principle, contemplation. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. Okay. And then when you see an object or when you hear something, and you develop a desire to achieve that, and if that is not achieved, it will lead to anger. So going back to the earlier discussion, the personality development programs or psychological help that is available, they only address anger. Let's say somebody has anger issues. They address anger. Somehow they address anger. Okay? By saying that next time when you feel that you are subject to anger, or you're going to get angry, or you already got angry, before you speak anything, you say 1, 2, 3, you count 1, 2, 10. They give some techniques which may or may not work, I don't know. But they don't address the root cause. First, they need to understand why that anger is coming in the very first place. Anger is coming because the lust is not fulfilled. The strong desire to achieve something is not fulfilled. And what is the reason for the strong desire? It's the contemplation. No. It is attachment, sangha. And what is the reason for attachment? Contemplation. So the 4 steps are contemplation, attachment, strong desire, anger. Okay? Dhyāna, sangha, kama, krodha. Dhyāna, sangha, kama, krodha. These are the 4 things. Okay? And when this happens, right, when the desires are not fulfilled and when you get angry, then the mind can behave like a mad person. Mind can behave like a mad person. There's a recent example, a recent incident that happened in Bangalore. Just 2-3 days ago, actually. Some software engineer, he returned from US to Bangalore. Either he was laid off or he voluntarily moved back to India. I don't know. And he wanted to do some business, maybe startup or some business. We don't know. And he asked his parents to help him fund that project. And the parents were not willing. And you know what this guy did? He killed the parents. So why? What does it happen? Because of uncontrolled desires, uncontrolled mind, uncontrolled desires, uncontrolled mind. So if we are not aware of the root cause why it happens, then we cannot find a solution. No matter how many psychological sessions you go through, no matter how many personality development classes you attend, you cannot. So root cause analysis is happening only in Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada writes in the purport the same point that we discussed, like the senses are always active. Senses want to be engaged in something. They cannot sit idle. So if you keep them idle, we all know the popular saying, idle brain is devil's workshop, right? It's not the brain actually, it's the mind. Idle man's mind is devil's workshop. Okay, brain is the hardware, the software is the mind. Mind is the interface between brain, senses, intelligence, everything, soul, everything. Mind is the interface, mind is the software, okay, that interacts with all other components of human life. The senses want to be engaged in some activity, they cannot sit idle. And if you don't provide them with a positive engagement, like what we discussed, viṣayā vinivartante niraharasya tehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate, 2.59. So if we don't get a higher taste, if we don't engage the senses in the right way, then the senses will automatically be engaged in the wrong way. And as they are exposed to sense objects, as they are getting engaged in wrong way, the problem gets bigger and bigger. It gets bigger and bigger. That's why we should have blinds. Just like how we have blinds on the windows, we should have blinds for our eyes. You see the horse, the person who is the owner of the horse always has blinds for the horse, so that the horse does not see everything in front of the horse. The horse sees everything in front of the horse, it will go here and there. But the owner of the horse wants the horse to walk straight or run straight and reach the destination properly. That's why they keep blinds in front of, blinds means it looks like some decoration. From the head, the strands of threads, they keep falling. They keep falling on the eyes of the horse. So it looks like it looks like blinds. The eyes are not completely closed, but partially closed. The horse cannot see completely clearly everything. So like that, we should have some kind of blinds. The blinds are nothing but, what are the blinds for our mind? Huh? Mantra. The blinds for the mind is mantra. The blind for intelligence is Shastra. The mind for senses is the blind for the senses. Hmm?
Not to meditate.
Not to meditate. Not to even see actually. Not to even see. The best thing is not to even see. If you go to Costco with a mission or on a mission, you are on a milk mission at Costco. Just finish that mission and come back. Don't even see. Don't even go to the electronic section to see, if there are any, let me check if there are any deals. Don't even do that. Don't even see. Close your eyes completely. Close your eyes completely. And just go to the milk section, and then if you don't know, you ask somebody where is milk, and straightly go to that section, get milk and come out. So the best technique is do not even see. But if at all you happen to see, if at all you happen to hear something, don't meditate on it. Just ignore. Just discard that thought. Don't meditate on it. Don't think about it. Forcibly you ignore that thought. Artificially, forcibly you deviate your thoughts, you deviate your mind on something else. So that's the technique, or that's the blinds for the senses. Do we have time for another shloka? Maybe next class. It's already 7. Any questions, comments, reflections before we leave? Yeah.
Actually, it's very coincidental that we are discussing about mind and the aspects on Shivaratri. I think one other aspect of Shiva is called Manoniyamaka Devata. So like
What devata?
Manoniyamaka. Like I said,
Manon
Niyama.
Mano Niyama Devata.
In the sense, like I think he delivered what you call Soma, like moon from his curves, and after that, like moon is like on his head, right?
Hmm.
And moon is kind of symbolic to our mind.
For the mind, yeah.
And that is like his symbolism also reflects that aspect of somebody who can help with manoniyama.
Hmm.
And I think that was something that is interesting, that somehow is coincidental to it.
Yeah, and there is an example of Lord Shiva in the purport also, like how Lord Shiva, he was attracted to Mohini Murti, he was attracted to when Parvati Devi asked for some sense pleasure. Uh, so how Lord Shiva could not resist. I mean, that's a leela. It's not to portray a different picture on them, but it's a different leela, right? Because Lord Shiva is beyond all this. Lord Shiva and Parvati, they are beyond all this. But when there are some incidents like that, it's just to perform some leela. That Shiva, Parvati Devi is agitated, and then inspires Lord Shiva for sense pleasure. That's just some leela there. So, yeah, that's a good point you mentioned, that we are discussing about mind on Shivaratri day and Mano Niyama Devata. Yeah. Yeah.
I
The
just
reason
got
why
reminded.
the reason why Shiva was attracted to Mohini Murti is, who is Mohini Murti?
Krishna.
Vishnu himself. Yeah. Obviously, Shiva is attracted to Vishnu. Shiva is attracted to Ramachandra. Shiva is attracted to Krishna. So, any form of Krishna, Vishnu, Narayana, Ramachandra, he is attracted, obviously. So, externally, what you see may be different, but he is attracted definitely to Mohini Murti because it's Vishnu's form.
Krishna also has a face of Shiva, Prabhuji.
Krishna has a face of Shiva. What do you mean?
When he showed Virat Swarup to Arjuna,
Hmm.
Shiva was also seen by Arjuna on his face.
Not only Shiva, everybody,
Even Arjuna himself, yeah.
all the devatas, all the bhutani, sarva bhutani, everybody,
Yeah, correct.
everybody in the 3 planetary systems. Arjuna could see everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And also, Prabhuji, I got reminded of the last class where everything was like the first picture of Bhagavad Gita itself tells everything, whatever you're telling me today. Same thing you told last class also, right? Arjuna and Sarthi and horses and the ropes.
Yes.
You told last class, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was
The
thinking
chariot
those.
of life.
Yeah, just
The
reflected
chariot of
on these thoughts again.
correct. Anything else? All good? Okay. Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you
Jai.
everyone for joining. Hare Krishna. We'll
Thank you,
continue next
Prabhuji.
week.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.